that. Senator Patricia Rucker was too. Mac will be in studio with us at 9 o'clock, and Senator Rucker will be with us via telephone.
And I think that award, Rob, has something to do with registering a very high percentage, if not 100%, of every student who qualifies, in other words, is 18 years old, to register to vote. Is that right?
I think.
Which if I'm right about that, we'll find out, but that's a pretty big achievement.
We can find out right now, in fact. Rather than guessing even more, let's ask Senator Patricia Rucker, who joins us right now on the WVU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line. Senator Rucker, good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me, but I must tell you, I did not make it to Hedgesville this morning.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, there was an accident on the way, and after waiting about 10 minutes, I turned around because I knew I would never make it.
Was that accident on Route 9?
No, it was actually on the old Route 9, off of Chestnut Hill Road, that I was taken from my home.
So from now on, you promise that you'll call in and give us a traffic report when that happens.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
We'll enlist you in our troop of traffic reporters that are out there.
Sounds good.
Welcome home.
Would you like to audition for the traffic reporter job? Hold on a second, Patricia. I'm going to give you the official traffic alert open. Here we go.
Talk Radio, WRNR, traffic alert.
All right, let's go to Senator Rucker with the latest accident information. Senator Rucker, what do you have for us?
It was this morning on my way to Hedgesville. Something was stopping the traffic on old Route 9.
Okay, hopefully I'll joke.
Well, it wasn't that thorough, Rob, but maybe she'll do better next time.
Sorry, I never got to see what it was.
Hopefully it wasn't anything real serious. So.
I hope.
Senator Rucker, was the Jennings Award that's going on at Hedgesville High in Berkeley Springs today, is that for 100% registration of teen voters, or is it something else?
Yes, I believe so, that's what it is.
Okay.
And it's a huge achievement, and it takes a lot of hard work, and obviously it's wonderful that Hedgesville High was able to get that.
Okay, very good.
I think that's 2 years in a row they've gotten that, actually. They've got.
Wow.
I think they've got a streak going on. I think they were actually, if I remember, Mac Warner, the first time he talked about this, and I think he initiated this. Mm-hmm. That it was, if I recall, they were the first high school maybe in the state that got. But again, we'll ask him about that when he's on a little bit later. Senator, we know that you broke from the 60-day legislative session. You went into special session, and the governor asked all 134 of you, that's House and Senate members, to go out and crisscross the state. I would imagine that even applied to the chairwoman of the Senate Education Committee, to go out and listen to the voters and ask them what they have to say about education reform. First, have you been crisscrossing maybe at least your district, and what are you hearing out there?
I have been getting some feedback, yes, but I can't say necessarily crisscrossing. Actually, that last week of the legislative session, my back started acting up again, unfortunately, and I have been about 2 weeks with not being able to do very much. But now I'm finally starting to feel better and like myself again, and looking forward to doing some of that traveling. But I've been hearing a lot of things that I have heard from before the session, and it continues. You know, folks know that, you know, the status quo is not enough, but having said that, everyone is in support of giving their teachers a raises. Everyone knows that teachers are facing challenges that we need to help them with. And one of the, I guess you'd say, one of the biggest points is, what is it we can do to help them do their jobs better? And so we have to look at everything that we can to make that happen.
Yeah, as it's no secret, obviously, the big issue in the Senate bill that you introduced is the whole issue of charter schools. We don't need to go deep into your defense of charter schools or anyone else's opposition to them. More interested in, are you hearing from your conversations out there about any compromise or any place to meet in the middle on charter schools that would be okay with you and okay with the leadership with the teachers' unions?
Well, I will tell you that I haven't actually communicated very much with the leadership of the teachers' unions since the session ended, but in terms of hearing compromises in charter schools, I've actually been hearing a lot of support for charter schools, even among teachers. There are some teachers who want to know, why can't we do some of that flexibility that charter schools have in our public schools? And of course, I tell them that I'm completely in favor of that. This is what it would take. And when, one of the best visuals you can have is that Chapter 18 of the West Virginia State Code, which is this huge section of our state code, basically tying their hands, telling them all the hoops they have to jump through before they can change something. We need to change that. We need to allow greater innovation locally and more local control, which is, of course, one of the things that I was trying to do with 451 and with other legislation that I've passed and introduced, and not just me, but in the last few years, the legislature has been attempting.
What would it take to actually make that happen? Does that need the cooperation of the two leaders of the main teachers' unions? Does it mean the superintendents have to be the ones who pull the trigger on this?
I would hope that the teachers' unions would be in favor of more flexibility for the local districts, but one of the things that's hardest is that local control. And I have been saying this. I know you guys are tired of hearing me saying it, but we really are going to need to consider a constitutional amendment, because the way the Constitution is written, it really truly does empower the state and centralized control of education. And we are one of only 2 states in the United States that has it that way. And I'm sorry, I think we've given it a good shot. We have run this state this way for many, many, many years. If it was going to work, I think it would have by now. I don't think we can really say that it is working.
Well, I can say this as one who has managed a few campaigns in my life. If there is a constitutional amendment ballot initiative to decentralize control of education in schools, sign me up as the campaign manager, because I'm all for that one. Is that a realistic thought, perhaps, in the next legislative session? Could something like that pass the legislature and get on the ballot by 2020?
I hope so. I would think so. And that is especially why it's so great that we have this opportunity to be talking to constituents, to teachers, to administrators, going around the state and hear from the actual citizens directly. I think it's a great opportunity to expand on that conversation. Up to now, it's those in education and, obviously it's legislators who have been discussing this. Now we're getting the involvement of all the citizens. And with that involvement and greater conversation, communication, I'm really hopeful this is the time that we can actually do a substantive change for West Virginia.
Yeah, I would think a measure like that. Of course, the devil's in the details, and the I's have to get dotted and the T's crossed and all of that. But I would think that some measure that brought more local control to the school districts would be really positive or received very positively in the Eastern Panhandle counties.
I would think so too, and I definitely hear from my constituents here that they really are tired of the way that things are being done now. And yes, we are being held back. I don't think anyone can argue that point. And in the Eastern Panhandle, we are being held back.
There was a gathering last week that I believe you attended, along with Delegate Paul Espinoza and Delegate Sammy Brown. We're both there, the 3 of you, from what I understand. And it was a group of parents and teachers and I think members of the public. I think your primary responsibility there was to listen. What was that a positive experience for you? And I'll ask you the same question that I asked the 2 delegates when we had them last week. Did you hear anything in that gathering that made you say, maybe that's a better way, or maybe that's a good idea, maybe I need to think about this?
Okay, so first, yes, it was very positive. Unfortunately, that's when my back was still bad. I had to stand during the entire time because I literally could not sit. So I'm grateful, again, that I'm doing a lot better now, but I'm very glad that I went, and it was a great listening experience. I did hear several things that I had not specifically heard before. Maybe I had gotten some idea, but they had some very specific suggestions that I thought were positive. I will say that not all of them things that I think are realistic, but let's have that conversation. Exactly, that is what we should be doing right now. Starting that conversation. Let's see what we can get done. They had some ideas about increasing staff development, giving an opportunity to really train their teachers well so that they can be more effective teachers. And I thought those were positive ideas and something that we hadn't included in 451.
Senator Patricia Rucker is our guest on the program. She is the Senate Education Chair. And during the course of the legislative session, you were the subject of some pretty nasty personal attacks on social media. I presume some of it made its way to your office door. You were accused of several things, personally enriching yourself through legislation, and also being a person who came in with the idea of getting revenge on teachers. How much of that made its way to you, and does any of it make you rethink the position that you have or second-guess your decision to accept?
Okay, well, no. I can tell you that, yes, of course it made it to me down in Charleston. Folks were emailing me and contacting me and calling me, both positive and negative. But I will say that, of course, it has not refunded my position because none of it was true. All of these accusations were completely false. I was FOIA'd, I can't even tell you how many times, and there was no evidence of any of the things that they said. And I will, again, I know that what I'm doing is what I ran on and is what my constituents have asked of me to do. And all of these accusations came about out of some sort of perception that 451 and parts of 451 were run by some corporation. It doesn't make absolutely any sense. The things that they suspect are run from corporations, charters, and ESAs, has been introduced in West Virginia previously to me being education chair and to me being in the legislature. So it's not my idea. It's not a unique idea. This is something that other states have passed and have done and have used successfully to help innovate and also bring more choice in education. And in terms of enriching myself, you guys, you were the ones who told me about some of these things. It was quite hilarious. I would love to know where it came from, but no, none of that was true, and it hasn't changed my mind. I'm doing what I know is right for the students and the parents and the families in West Virginia. The status quo is just not good enough.
That is a confusing issue, though, and whether who's right or who's wrong is a matter, I guess, of individual judgment in many cases. I don't like the negative that flies around, either hearsay stuff. That's just the kind of social media culture that we live in today. But on the issue of companies coming in, this is what I think I learned, that in some states where charter schools are legal to establish, that when a group in a community decides to form a charter school, that in many cases an outside business comes in, a business for hire, and helps that group of parents and teachers form a charter school. In other words, they act as advisors because they've done it before. They come in and say, you need to do A, B, C, and D. I've operated as a consultant in my life as well, and I think you have too, Patricia. So that's what consultants do. They provide a service and they get paid for it. Is that where the outside private company issue comes in?
Well, that's part of it. There were folks that I consulted to help me to check that the charter school provision and the ESA provisions of 451 had the best possible safeguards and criteria. So those are, part of what I use to just make certain that those two sections were done correctly. But in addition to that, if we were to start public charter schools, which is the only thing that 451 would have allowed, public charter schools, there are groups who have specialized now in these charter schools that could be the managers. They're not the overseers because that's the authorizer, but they know the setup and they know the application process and they have streamlined it. So it's just like you said, like you as a consultant, if someone wants, as a candidate, we want someone who has run campaigns before, who has, learned from past experiences what is best, and we want to be the most efficient. We don't want to waste money. We don't want to throw our money at something that's not going to work. We might want to hire one of these people as a choice to try to help us be as most efficient. If that person we hire is not efficient, if they're not going to do the job, guess what? We fire them. And that is exactly what would happen in a situation where one of these companies would be consulted or brought in to help. But again, not mandatory.
But they don't. But they don't own the charter school. They're acting as consult. And so, I mean, I would think that the State Department of Education or even local school districts from time to time hire outside people who are for a fee. In other words, they're receiving income to provide a service. That's not all that uncommon. I know that I have federal contracts in my other business that I do. The federal government is paying me a fee to provide a service. So is that all that this would be, too?
Yes. I mean, again, there's a little bit more to it. So as you know, whoever the group is, the nonprofit group that decides they want to put in an application for a charter, I mean, they themselves have some rules that they're going to have to follow, and those are nonprofits. And it's part of the reason for why that charter school law is a little bit, convoluted. It's a little bit difficult. Many folks that I spoke to did not actually read the bill and so did not understand all of the safeguards that we put in there to make certain that, it can't be abused. But it is exactly as you said. Actually, right now, the State Board of Education and these forums that they're having around the state, they have brought in an outside company, CBI, who is a professional, I'm not sure what the word is, but they do these forums. They help facilitate discussions, and that's what they do. And they have brought in this company to help run that forum in a manner that hopefully is going to be very professional, very efficient, and will allow everyone to give input. They're doing it right now, and no one was complaining about them doing that because we know and understand that there are folks who specialize in doing this particular job and could probably do it better.
In the bill that the final writing of SB 451, am I right or wrong about this? But it seems to my memory that in order to establish a charter school, one of the hoops that you'd have to jump through is you have to get the approval of the local school board. Is that true?
That is for almost all cases. Now, in the original 451, there were 4 sets of authorizers. In the amended version, which was the version that the Senate sent back to the House, and which got tabled indefinitely, we had limited to 2. And so, yes, the county school boards, and we also included the universities, a public university, I should say.
You mean the local public university would have to sign off on it as well?
Could be an authorizer. They could, not that they sign off on it. They could be an authorizer. And the authorizer is the overseeing body.
Okay.
Senator Patricia Rucker is with us on the WVU Medicine Jefferson Medical Center talk line. I got a text from a Republican official in the state during our conversation with you that said that Speaker Hanshaw and Senate President Carmichael are not in Charleston today, and there is a growing suspicion that the governor may use that opportunity to veto some of the things that are in the budget that the GOP and the state was hoping to get through. Patricia, are you aware of any concerns regarding that?
No, actually, but I will say that I have been, a little bit concerned at the fact that the governor has not signed a whole bunch of bills that we deeply care about, and it has made me a little bit worried, but I certainly hope that that's not what's going to happen. What
do you suspect, or what is concerning you as to why the governor might not be signing any specific items?
I really don't know. It's so hard to know with the governor, as you know. For most of the session, we did not see him, and that was a disappointment to us. And I assume that he's doing his due diligence and talking to the folks that he needs to be talking to before he makes a decision. And I will say, this legislative session, I mean, we worked so hard. I'm very happy that the Senate and the House really did pass some great bills and important bills and some controversial bills, but they're all things that would help West Virginia, and I really hope in cooperation with the governor, we're going to be able to see these things get done.
Senator Rucker, thanks so much for your time this morning. I appreciate it, and safe commutes and travels back home. Watch for the traffic.
Oh, thank you so much. I am home. I just want to remind you. I ended up turning around, but thank you guys. And Bob, I just want to let you know that we're praying for you.
Oh, thank you. That's so kind of you. I do appreciate that very much.
No problem. You guys take care.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator
Bye-bye.
Patricia Rucker there, and very nice of her to say that.
Sure was.
Very, very nice. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I've been praying for you too.